There was a time when everyone had one, the iconic Nokia 3310. Indestructible. It could take a beating and still work after being thrown across the room in anger. Or accidentally, like when you were playing Snake and you turned the corner too fast. Boom, game over. It also had a ridiculously long battery life, and it could even double as a music player. This was the king of mobile phones. But somewhere along the way, the company disappeared. Who even uses a Nokia today? Well, they do still exist, but as a background player in the tech space. But how did the number one phone company disappear in the blink of an eye in the age of iPhones and Androids? Today, we dive deep into the tech story of Nokia, a rise so powerful and a fall so painful that even today there's no one who does not miss the good old days of Nokia. So how did Nokia even get started? Well, the company wasn't always a tech company. In fact, it started as a paper mill in 1865 in Finland. But the real story begins in the 1990s when mobile phones went from being a luxury item to a must-have accessory. By 1998, Nokia was the world's largest mobile phone maker. Their success came down to three factors: heavy investment in R&D, building GSM networks before competitors, and creating the first mobile internet phone, the Nokia 7110. And then something interesting happened. Just when Nokia should have ridden the wave of mobile internet, they stopped innovating. The internet was evolving rapidly from dial-up connections to 3G, and people wanted to use the internet on the go. But by the time Nokia realized this, it was too late. They had become complacent. Everyone knew Nokia phones were good, reliable, and trustworthy, but they weren't necessarily cool. So when the iPhone launched in 2007, Nokia thought it's just another toy for rich people. They called the iPhone a toy. They didn't take it seriously at all. But what happened next shocked them. Apple built an app ecosystem around the iPhone, and soon everyone wanted to own one. But Nokia remained committed to Symbian OS, which was not only outdated, but also clunky and hard for developers to work with. Even today, there are just so many things that iOS does better than Symbian. Let's just look at this chart. Symbian lacked the fundamentals of a good UI UX. There was no app store. Third-party apps were hard to come by, and the interface was just too complicated. In hindsight, it's easy to point fingers and say they made the wrong call. But it wasn't so obvious back then. After all, they were the market leaders. But there was one big problem behind the scenes. Nokia's biggest strength had also become its biggest weakness: its people. Nokia was a giant with thousands of employees worldwide. Making decisions was slow and took lots of meetings and paperwork. It was a classic case of internal politics, factional fighting, and finger-pointing. By 2011, Nokia's market share had dropped to 24%, and they were losing billions every quarter. So they decided to put all their eggs in the Microsoft basket, betting big on Windows Phone. But that turned out to be a huge mistake. As it turns out, people hated the lack of apps on Windows Phone, and Nokia's mobile division became a money pit for Microsoft. In 2013, Microsoft bought Nokia's mobile business, and just like that, the 14-year Nokia phone era came to an end. So what can today's tech startups learn from Nokia's fall from grace? Well, 3 lessons stand out. First, success needs reinvention. Nokia was successful with dumb phones, but they failed to adapt to the smartphone revolution. Second, never underestimate disruption. Steve Jobs was just a nobody in tech until the iPhone changed everything. And third, and most importantly, listen to your users, not just your boardroom. Nokia's arrogance blinded them from making the right moves and ultimately led to their demise. After all, they had it all: the best hardware, a huge user base, and massive brand recognition. But none of it mattered because they forgot about one thing: UX matters. Today, Nokia still exists, but they're a shadow of their former selves, working behind the scenes as a network tech company. Will they ever make a comeback? Only time will tell. If you enjoyed this deep tech dive, hit that like button and subscribe for more untold tech stories.